Hey everybody, I wanted to follow up on my sales training videos that I've done in the past. I think I have a 101 and a 102. So this one's a little bit more advanced, okay? And it's kind of taking it back to the beginning of what direct selling is and how it works, right? One of the main things that you want to do when you're at a home or you're in a customer facing role, that you're knocking on their door, stranger, all that stuff, is understand there's something that we all have. You have to put yourself in the perspective of the customer, right? That very first knock, right? The very first knock. The first thing is you want to knock 3 separate times, and you want to wait at least 10 seconds between each door knock, right? To give yourself the opportunity to actually get somebody home, right? The first knock, remember, they're thinking, who's that? Who's at the door? Who is that? Is that a package? Are they going to leave? And then, like, the second knock, they're like, well, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe I need to go to the door, right? By that third knock, they're like, if they weren't planning on coming to the door, now they're just like, okay, let's go see who this is. Whoever it is, they really want to talk to me. So they come out to the door, right? And then immediately they make the assumption that, it's a sales guy. He's standing here with a clipboard. Somebody's standing there with something in their hand, whatever. So you look like you're a salesperson, right? So now it's called refutation mode, right? Well, we all do it. It's a predetermined decision that the customer has made previously in their life. I don't buy from salespeople. I've been told that. I don't know how many times I've been told that to people I sell to. I don't buy from salespeople. I don't buy right away. I don't do that. And I always have an answer for everything because, the business is just set up. You hang around long enough, you're going to get all the ways to overcome objections. The key is to be able to overcome those objections with confidence, right? So I want to try to break this down without getting too far off topic. You're at that moment, customer comes to the door. They are in refutation mode. They see you as you're in the way. You're just somebody trying to sell something. I ain't trying to buy. They're not even listening. It's like there's a malaise or a glaze over their everything, and they're just in an automatic pilot. Basically, is the best way to think about what refutation mode is. Now, as a salesperson, we have to break that. We can't just keep waiting for the people that were waiting for us to come, right? Those are going to come if you work hard enough anyway. So we have to find people that weren't thinking about what we have, and suddenly, and maybe whatever product we're selling is important to us, but it's not that important to them, right? So we have to figure out a way to get buy-in, right? And how we do that is, the very first thing we do is we want to make sure that we're professionally dressed. We're dressed for the job that we're doing, right? We're professionally dressed, whether we're selling something where we need to have high visibility clothing on, or dress professionally, or whatever. You want to make sure that you're right in all that way. So once you have your professionalism set, you got to have confidence. There's nothing, this cannot be undersold. You can't, you just, either you have confidence or you don't. So you're going to have it. They say fake it till you make it, all that stuff. What I would say is just be confident about what you're saying, what you're doing, the products you have. That means that before you have ever knocked that door, about your product. You know way more than they do. And the other thing too about door-to-door sales is they don't know what you don't know, and you don't have to tell them, right? So, but you still have to be confident. So, step one, you have to be confident. You have to look the part. Step two, you got to knock that door. You got to knock. You got to wait. You got to knock. You got to wait. You got to knock. Then they come to the door, and you have to immediately break that pattern. The pattern is, you're a salesperson, I'm not buying. That you need to get through that, right? You can't get through that with immediately coming out and going, hey, would you like to buy XYZ from me for this price? Because the first thing you say should be something that gets their attention, something that changes or breaks a pattern. There's 100,000 ways. I won't say 100,000, but there's a lot of different ways to break a pattern. One of the ways is you can be like, try to make a 5-minute friend. You can talk about their plants. You can say, hey, what kind of fertilizer do you use? Or how often do you see these kind of birds in the neighborhood? Or just some random thing that is like, what? Why did you just ask me that? Because when you do that, the customer is now forced to come out of refutation mode. So now the first step is you broke a pattern. Let me write that down so I can stay on track for you guys. So the first thing is you got to break that pattern. You got to get that refutation mode out. Break that pattern. Once you break the pattern, now you've gotten their attention, right? Now you have to be the part. You have to be the person that you are. You're like, hey, now you can introduce yourself. I'm James. I'm with XYZ. I'm out here doing X, whatever. And what I was actually here asking about was this or that. So now once you've got into the conversation of telling them what you're selling, or not selling what you're telling them 4 basic things, right? You're telling them who you are, right? Who you're with, what you got, the hook, right? Which basically the hook is how, what do you got for them, and how is that going to help them? And then the next thing is you got to have some kind of a question that keeps the conversation going, right? So whatever it is, a continue type question, like how often have you had such and such, or whatever you're talking about. You want to guide the conversation towards the sale, right? But the next thing is that it's not quite there yet, because even though that you broke the pattern, you were confident and you had everything that you needed. Now, what do you need to do? You need to ask questions. Questions are the answers at this point. And the questions that you need to be asking are questions about what they already have. How are they already solving this need, this problem they have? Listening to them, letting them tell you, oh, I do this and I like this. Oh, what do you like best about that? Oh, yeah, I like this about that. And then this and that. And then all of a sudden you're going along, and there's something called unconditional positive regard. Psychologists and counselors use it all the time. Unconditional positive regard, no judgment. No, they can tell you anything. Poker face. You can sell them all. That's what I always say, is that you can sell everybody. You just have to be able to understand what they want and understand where they're coming from, and kind of be a chameleon, right? So you're a mirror, really. So you're asking questions about what they have, how long they've had that, what made them first, whatever. So now what you're really doing is you're formulating and you're building a case for what they need and how they use what they have, right? Because now they've told you as much as they can tell you. You're in that spot where you're in a conversation mode. You kind of got them there. So then you have to say something that makes it about them, right? Give them a feeling of importance. The reason why you're here today, right? That's what you need. The 4 things are who you are, who you're with, why you're there, right? And what you can do for them, right? So the why you're there, you can use it like, hey, this area, this specific place was targeted by our company for a reason, whether we were losing customers and now we have things improved, or this area happens to get the best possible XYZ available in our market, and we were trying to make sure that whatever. You're giving the customer something, but you also got to make it more about them. And something I would always say is, I'm sure you're getting a lot of stuff in the mail and stuff like that, and the best customers like yourself, they take stuff like that and they throw it right in the trash. They don't even use it, so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who don't make rash decisions, that don't just jump right into that, and they're just sitting there like, yeah, I don't do that, that's me. Now you've made it about them, right? Now at this point, you're asking them now more about what they have. How do you use that? Oh, that's great. So now you've set up now what you're doing is you're setting up a narrative where they make good decisions. They make sound decisions, and they make decisions based on what what you're telling them, right? Because now you're just telling them, you're setting the narrative, and they're playing along. Now you've got them going down the path of closing the sale. So when you get to the end, a lot of times when you have set up the sale correctly, you're just asking questions and you're assuming the sale. You're assuming that they're going to go ahead and get this set up based on the questions you've asked and what they've told you. And you shouldn't if you do it perfect the way I do it, you don't come up with a lot of objections. It's just you get to the end, you go, okay, so what we can do for you based on what you've told me is this. Looks like you're gonna be able to get doing really well with this package here. We can go ahead and get it set up here. What's your name? Okay, what's your email? What information do we need? Okay, so now that we've got that, so we can go ahead and get this started for you today. This is going to be what it's going to run you. It looks like it's going to save you X amount of dollars, and then they're just like, you're taking them through the path to where they're listening. That's the most important thing, is that you've got them listening to you, and then also you've created a narrative in which they can make this decision with you today. Right, and if you've done it right, you've alleviated a lot of their concerns going through, because you know your product, you know your customer base, you've been doing this. If you're the type of person who's doing any type of professional development, listening to different things, trying to learn a new way, or think a new way to think about the same thing that we've been doing, that's it. You want to. So I'll just, to give you a recap, you gotta have confidence, you gotta look the part, you gotta sell the part. You gotta get that customer talking to you. You have to break that pattern. Once you break that pattern, whatever it is, now you've got them in kind of a friend mode. Now they're no longer in that, you're a salesperson, I'm a customer, I'm not buying anything mode. You got them out of that. Then you have to create a scenario where they're talking to you about what their favorite thing is, which is themselves, what they like, how they do it, what they do. You've already told them they're the type of person who makes good decisions, and you want to know more about the decisions that they've made in the past. You never, ever, ever, ever discount somebody else. Oh, you should have never went with XYZ. You need to go with us because of that. That will never work, because there's another little tip here. When you get customers to say, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. You can be right all day long. You're not selling crap. It's till you get them to say, oh, that's right. So you have to take them down the path where they themselves are coming up with the answer, because you've asked the questions in the correct way, to where they're like, oh, okay. And everything makes sense. And you have basically you have painted a picture in such a way and created a narrative in such a way where them stopping and going, wait a minute, I don't want to do this after all. Then that's something that they have to break the pattern at that point, which is really hard. It's harder to do, especially for people that aren't trained to do that. So why wouldn't they buy, right? And you've made it about them. That's the most important thing. You've made it about them. You've let them take control. I know I'm talking a lot, but in the actual sales process, the customer's doing the majority of the talking. I just ask one question. They tell me stuff. Then I only ask questions again when they've completed telling me what they're telling me, and I'm not interrupting them. And then once I have gathered enough information where I know what I have, I know what I can do, then I take them down the path of the close. And the close is just a natural thing. So that's all I've got today. Hopefully you've learned something, and have a good one.